Programming languages might be one of the most important thing in programming. It's like before you can go out and socialize, you have to learn to touch grass and basically shower. The last thing you really want to do is try and rush your way through a programming language just for the sake of like filming some sort of dumb YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do it in 24 hours. Now let's go over the game plan. First, I'm going to learn a whole new programming language in less than 24 hours. Second, I'm going to build a brand new project with the programming language, and if the project doesn't run first try, I'm going to myself. I'm just joking, guys. I don't want to do that. But what I am going to do is delete every single current coding project on my resume. Oh, and the language that we're studying is C. Let's get started. I got my laptop. I got my energy drink. The only thing left to do is to actually study. Hooray, let's go. I think I should start off with explaining my study method. It's extremely simple, but it's very inefficient. What I do is basically I just take notes of everything. I also study in spaced increments, Pomodoro technique. Basically, I just study for 25 minutes. I take a 5-minute break. I got started off with studying the basics of any programming language, which is like your variables, your data types, your functions, loops, and your conditionals. Alright, first study session done. Right now I have break, so I'm going to go and enjoy my break. Alright, second study session. Let's go. Whatever I study, I just listen to really sad music. It gets me really locked in. I think we're almost done with the theory stuff. The concepts were staying much better for me because C isn't actually the first programming language that I learned. I started off with JavaScript, and I remember it took me forever to even understand how loops work, and then it just randomly clicked while I was like washing the dishes one day. So if you're trying to learn a new programming language, don't try this at home. I am professionally unemployed. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. Leave it to the experts, guys. Don't try it at home. After studying the basics, I moved on to more advanced topics like pointers. If you don't understand, I'm gonna explain it right now. I feel like I'm not qualified to tell you this. Basically, how variables are stored is there's usually a memory address next to a variable that helps for you to locate the variable inside the computer's memory. A pointer can help you to store the memory variable. Pointers are very important, but they're very dangerous because you can override existing data, so you have to be very careful. I also started studying structs. It's basically like classes, like objects. It allows you to store multiple different variables so you can create the same variation. Those were the main concepts that I thought were pretty advanced. Let's move on. I'm so tired. After studying the theory, it was time to move on to applying the problem. I found some basic problems on this website and I got started right away. My hair is kind of chopped right now. Time to see if all that studying was actually useful or not. Problem 1 was pretty simple. It was barely a problem. We're gonna start with include studio. Oh, I'm already writing it wrong. The main thing that was holding me back was actually typing it up. And we're gonna write out a simple program. You just needed to print hello world to the console. Hello world. And it's going to return 0. First coding problem done. Question 2 requires user input. We have to write a program to find the sum of two numbers entered by the user. All you got to do is store user inputs into a variable. Firstly, initialize some variables. We're going to start with asking the user for the numbers. So please enter the first number, and then we're going to scanf and then try and get that variable. So firstly, a placeholder, and we're going to store that in X, and then add that up and then store the result of that into a variable. Basically, result is equal to X plus Y, and then we want to print F %D result, return 0. Everything is working, so that is pretty good. Problem 3 requires us to find if a number is even or odd. So let's start with obtaining the user input. Print F, please enter, and then we're gonna have to store it. So scanf, we're scanning for an integer, and we're gonna store it in our variable X. Then we got started off with actually checking if it's even or odd. And the best way to do this is using the modulus operator. If a number is even, the modulus should be 0. But when a number is odd and you divide it by 2, there will be remainder. The remainder was 0, you print out the number is even, else print out the number is odd. Yeah, we just wrote it wrong in the wrong order, but we fixed it. Don't worry, you weren't worrying, I was the one who's worried. For the final problem, which is the hardest problem, converting binary digits to decimal digits. But we can start with understanding how binary and decimal digits actually work. The normal way of us communicating numbers is in decimals, which means that it has like digits of 1 to 9 and it's in base 10. But that is different than binary digits, because in binary digits, we're working in base 2 and we only have 2 digits, 1 and 0. I got started off the same way with problem 3, getting the user input. After I got the user input, I now break it down into an array storing individual digits, and then we stored that into a separate array called binary number. I then generated an array with the length up to the binary array that we just created, and that would help us to store the individual values of the base 2. And then now it was a problem of comparing the first array to the second array. Whenever a 1 is present, you're going to want to add that number in, and then whenever there's a 0, you're going to move on. And the best way to do this was using a for loop to decimal. We got it. Hooray. There is definitely a more efficient approach towards solving this, but I didn't care about efficiency. I just cared about getting the answer. After I finished solving all of these problems, I felt it was finally time to get started on the final part of this video. Hey guys, 3 days ago, I didn't even know what C was. I mean, no, I actually knew, I did know. And today, right now, at this very hour, I am about to build my first ever project with C. Now, it only makes sense to me that the first project I'll be building in C is a to-do app. I feel like it's like the biggest milestone for any new developer to build your first to-do app. I remember when I first pushed my to-do app on JavaScript, my parents finally loved me back. I'd like to take a moment to thank all the friends I've made along the way. I'd like to take a moment to thank myself. Anyways, let's get to it. I wanted my to-do app to have 3 main functions. Firstly was the ability for users to add in new to-do. Secondly is the ability to store those to-dos. And then lastly is the ability to open up those to-dos and then for the viewers to see all of their to-dos. The biggest problem I ran into, which I'm sure most developers, I'm calling myself a developer, run into, is not knowing how to start. You're so overwhelmed by all the things you can do that you don't know where to start. This is where I must confess I used AI. I know. I'm so sorry. I basically asked ChatGPT, hey, can you give me a starting point? I'm trying to build this. Just give me hints. Don't actually give me any codes. I swear on everybody's soul, from this point on, I did not use AI. My vision for how this to-do app was going to work was that we were going to have a text file to store all of the to-do. And then every time user would input something, we would store that in a variable, and then we would append that back into the text file so that we can display all of the to-dos for the user to see. Got started off with building a function to retrieve the to-do from users, which is pretty easy because we've been doing that for all the problems before. We just needed to store it in a string, and it's a tiny bit more different in C because C doesn't actually have a data type called string. But what I'm thinking is we can have... The second part was appending that to a file. It was pretty easy. All we had to do was start a pointer towards the text file, use the file management functions and all that. Actually, there were some parts where I didn't understand the syntax. I think I might need to watch another video on like project management because I'm kind of confused right now. Or maybe the way I'm approaching this is all wrong. So then I just went back to Googling. The main thing is don't give yourself the answer. Like learn the answer. Struggle through it and then you'll understand it much better, because once I understood how to append it, I understood how to write and how to read and what the basic functionalities behind that was. After we got that done, I moved on to the last function, which was displaying it. And the way it works is pretty simple. We initialize a string array and we give it a fixed size that is large enough to store every single current text inside the file. We then use file functions such as like open, gets and stuff to open the file and then store everything in that file into the string array that we just initialized, and then we just print that array out to the user. After a while, I felt like I had a good enough program, so then I felt like it was time to actually run the code. Hey guys, I just finished. I think I am done with the basic functionalities of this to-do. I felt like it was time to actually click run. If it works first try, that's good. If it doesn't work first try, I think we're cooked. No way, bro. The only error is the fact that I missed one single semicolon. After that humiliating defeat, I went and got a haircut. Actually, I've been sitting here trying to figure this out, and I think I got it. And I got a somewhat working version. I come bearing good news. The main problem was the fact that I was trying to pass in a placeholder that was an integer as the to-do, and I was trying to append that into my text file, but the to-do was supposed to be stored as a character, as an array. I ended up just combining both of those functions together. I think given enough time, I could definitely make this project better. But at the end of the day, a deal is a deal, so I'm going to start deleting my project. It wasn't even that bad. I feel like I was just being dramatic. I mean, those projects were asses anyways, and my codes were kind of like